Hello, this is Melanie Guralnik, and for the next hour I'll be reading from the April 7th issue of the Toronto Sun on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The first story is Trump offers grace to Canada, but threatens Iran's civilization will die tonight, by Joe Warmington. American President Donald J. Trump has threatened Iran that their whole civilization will die tonight if they don't surrender the Strait of Hormuz immediately. On his Truth Social account, he wrote, quote, "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will." However, now that we have the complete and total regime change, where different, smarter, and less radicalized minds prevail, maybe something revolutionary wonderful can happen. Who knows? The president continued, "We will find out tonight, one of the most important moments in the long and complex history of the world. 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death will finally end. God bless the great people of Iran." This column was supposed to be about Trump's space phone conversation from space with Canadian astronaut Colonel Jeremy Hansen. But sometimes you just can't bury the lead. Many are still reeling from his profane Easter message, in which Trump wrote on the same account, quote, "Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped up in one, in Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch." And another message in which he wrote, "Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, exclamation mark." Or his earlier messaging that he would bomb them back to the Stone Ages. It's all shocking rhetoric that, coming from any other leader, would scare the world and have them preparing for the worst. But with Trump, it seems, people are so used to his bombastic, art-of-the-deal approach that there is a shrugging of the shoulders to it. A whole civilization will die? Time will tell who is right on this. But one thing that is for sure is the abhorrent thought that the whole civilization of Iran will die tonight threat is a certainly major step up from bombing bridges and power plants in a war posture or at any time. You say something like that, and you're going to get a reaction. Many in response are calling it pure madness and evil, and even an admission of possible genocide, while other fears it could be a signal toward a nuclear attack on Iran. Trump using the word civilization instead of, perhaps, the IRGC regime is scaring as many people outside of Iran as it may be people in the country. Whatever Trump means by his ominous words, it's not a comfortable period, and history will judge this time. With that in mind, it's so ironic that at this very time of turmoil on planet Earth, there are 4 astronauts in space who are on their way back to the troubled planet from flying around the moon. And it's interesting, since in a call from the White House to the crew on Artemis II, a curious and excited Trump was a stark contrast to the Darth Vader-like messaging he was offering on his Truth Social. This call to space shows both the dark side and the bright side of Trump. He seems proud of NASA astronauts, Commander Reed Wiseman, pilot Victor Glover, mission specialist Christina Koch with NASA, and Canadian Space Agency mission specialist Jeremy Hansen. In fact, this was some historic Canada and United States diplomacy done from up near the moon. Neat to see the Canadian flag next to Old Glory, and its stars and stripes up there on the spaceship. And the slick, diplomatic moves delivered by a new Canadian legend with an assist from a fellow Canuck icon. The Great One in Space Too. Quote, "Well, I have to say I spoke to a very special person, Wayne Gretzky, who I think you know, the Great One. said Trump, adding, "I spoke to your Prime Minister and many other friends that I have in Canada, and they are so proud of you and that you have a lot of courage. I'm not sure if they'd want to do that. I'm not even sure if the Great One would want to do that, to be honest with you. But you have a lot of courage doing what you're doing, a lot of bravery, and a lot of genius, but they're very proud of you." That's the President Trump that is one people are more comfortable hearing from than the extreme threats of a civilization. With the Don Cherry-style thumbs up, Hansen, who, as Gretzky did, is setting some records of his own, handled his interaction with Trump so well with the true Canadian class and humility. When the president asked if there was a difference noticed between the dark side of the moon and the nearer side, Hansen said, "Well, Mr. President, we certainly did." Hansen added, "Certainly thought we might see the gravitational pull of the Earth has had a profound effect on the near side of the moon, changing all those dark patches of the moon you see from Earth. It's very different on the far side, while you see some small patches of those Maria and deep craters. It's very much absent on that side." At a time when there has been so much acrimony between the two countries, in response to Trump's bizarre efforts to make Canada a 51st state, Hansen also took the Canadian high road to tip his hat to the president and to the United States. Quote, "While I have the microphone, sir, I just want to thank you on behalf of Canada. That space leadership you spoke of from America is truly extraordinary. I've said this many times before. A nation that leads like that and creates goals for humanity that brings other countries along with it is truly incredible." Hansen thanked Trump. Hansen added, "I know it's very intentional to allow other countries like Canada to share our gifts and help you achieve these mutually beneficial goals, like establishing a presence on the moon and eventually going to Mars, and Canadians are so proud to be a part of this program. The moon mission seems to be going smoother than the Iran war mission." After there was a break in the line connection for more than a minute, Trump magnanimously reiterated, quote, "I really look forward to when we can look forward to seeing you in the Oval Office, where he will ask for your autographs, as Americans celebrate your incredible achievements that the whole world is talking about." That was just Monday. Now on Tuesday, the whole world is talking about Trump's words about ending a civilization. Things may be peaceful up there in outer space. Down here on Earth, not so much. There is a picture of the inside of the Artemis II that was taken on April 4th, and Jeremy Hansen of Canada is wearing a black hoodie and he's holding a microphone, so he is talking to someone from space. And next to him, who do we have here? Victor Glover, and he looks like he's floating kind of horizontally next to him, and he's wearing some kind of dark black outfit that has patches on it. And then on the other side is Reed Wiseman, and he's also wearing the similar kind of sweatshirt and tan pants. And there's also the American flag next to the Canadian flag that's kind of mounted to the ceiling. Photo courtesy of Canadian Space Agency via AP. That story was, "Trump offers grace to Canada, but threatens Iran's civilization will die tonight," by Joe Warmington. The next story is, "Tories demands answers on Finance Minister's potential high-speed rail conflicts," by Brian Pacifiume. Ottawa. This weekend's news of Federal Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne recusing himself over the federal government's high-speed rail project has the Conservatives calling for an investigation by the Ethics Commissioner. And Prime Minister Mark Carney defended his finance minister to reporters on Tuesday, saying Champagne followed the rules and that spouses of cabinet ministers are entitled to pursue their own careers. News broke of the recusal over the Easter weekend, with Champagne reportedly releasing a letter Monday removing himself from any discussions or decisions concerning the $60 billion to $90 billion Alto project, which aspires to build a high-speed rail corridor between Toronto and Quebec City. The most recent federal budget put aside $100 million for the Alto project, one of Prime Minister Mark Carney's nation-building projects announced last year. Champagne reportedly filed letter last year. The issue surrounds Champagne's partner Anne-Marie Gaudet, who since last August has served as Alto's Vice President of Environment. In the letter, reportedly penned in September before the federal budget was announced, Champagne delegated authority over the project to Wayne Long, Secretary of State for the Canada Revenue Agency, with this ethics filter overseen by his Chief of Staff and Deputy Finance Minister. Quote, I am proactively applying a conflict of interest filter to Alto, a wholly owned subsidiary of the Government of Canada, the letter reportedly said, which has not been viewed by the Toronto Sun and does not appear on the Office of Conflict of Interest and Ethics Commissioner website. Quote, this measure is being implemented due to a personal connection to someone close to me in the organization, to safeguard against any real or perceived conflict of interest. The letter was reportedly dated September 10, 2025, but the date was reportedly in a different font than the rest of the letter. Carney Defense Minister says he did the right thing. Speaking to reporters at an unrelated news conference in Brampton, Carney said Champagne did the right thing by recusing himself and that there are plenty of other ministers capable of handling the file. It's important that we have a system where those individuals can continue to pursue their career, he said. Quote, there are rules and regulations, and the Minister of Finance has followed those rules and regulations, with the notification of the Ethics Commissioner in recusing himself from dealings in respect to Alto. That explanation wasn't good enough for the Tories, who on Tuesday afternoon called on Conflict of Interest and Ethics Commissioner Conrad von Finkenstein to launch an investigation. Quote, the prospect of a finance minister making decisions as part of the federal government's budgetary process, which present distinct benefits and advantages for his partner and her employer, and acting and voting in Parliament to give those effect, is a very troubling development. Conservative ethics critic Michael Barrett wrote in a letter to the Commissioner. An investigation is absolutely essential here, including to validate the existence and application of his unpublished and only now revealed conflict of interest filter, in addition to all of his parliamentary engagement on this matter. That story was Tories demand answers on finance ministers' potential high-speed rail conflicts by Brian Passafiume. The next story is Alejandro Kirk has surgery while Blue Jays call up Patrick Corbin. Addison Barger is headed to the IL by Rob Longley. The beat-up Blue Jays have brought in some pitching help, while another position player is headed to the injured list. Prior to Tuesday's game against the Los Angeles Dodgers, the team announced that lefty Patrick Corbin has been called up from Single-A Dunedin and was to be active for the game. Corbin is expected to report to Toronto on Wednesday and is slated to start Friday's game against the Twins. As well, Addison Barger was sent to the 10-day IL with the left ankle sprain he suffered on the weekend in Chicago. Corbin was signed by the Jays last week to provide some pitching depth with so many of the team's starters struggling to remain healthy. Each of Trey Yosavage, Jose Berrios, Cody Ponce, and Shane Bieber are on the IL with a variety of injuries. Further concern arose on Monday when veteran Max Scherzer had to exit the game with what the team was calling forearm tendinitis. In another injury news, Manager John Schneider said that catcher Alejandro Kirk had surgery on his left thumb on Tuesday to repair the fracture sustained on the weekend. During the procedure, a screw was inserted, meaning the backstop will be out for a minimum of 6 weeks. And another development in the long list of wounded. Schneider said that Ponce's knee will keep him out for a minimum of 6 months. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Toronto Sun on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. In another move, infielder Tyler Fitzgerald was recalled from AAA Buffalo and activated for Tuesday's game, while lefty Josh Fleming, who 8 innings for Scherzer on Monday, was sent back down to Buffalo. The Jays have been beset with a flurry of injuries in the early going, part of the reason they have staggered to a 4-6 record out of the gate. The team entered Tuesday's play having lost 5 games in a row, matching the longest losing streak they had in all of 2025. That story was Alejandro Kirk has surgery while Blue Jays call-up Patrick Corbin. Addison Barger is headed to the IL, by Rob Longley. Oh, here's a fun one. This story is Dismemberment Killer Adam Strong's Oshawa House of Horrors for Sale, by Brad Hunter. There is absolutely nothing noteworthy about the small, nondescript brick bungalow at 219 McMillan Drive in downtown Oshawa, at least at first glance. But beneath its veneer lies a chilling level of evil that seems to have been summoned from the depths of hell. Horrors that remain mercifully rare even in our hyper-violent society. Teen was pregnant. On September 11, 2017, the nightmare had its prelude when a fisherman discovered a torso floating in Oshawa Harbor. 2 months later, DNA identified the remains as though of Rory Haish, 18, who had been reported missing and was last seen on August 29th. The troubled teen was pregnant, and cops had few answers. It was clogged pipes at 219 McMillan Drive in December 2017 that would give homicide detectives their macabre answers. Strips of human flesh had bunged up the plumbing. Police were called, and a creep named Adam Strong, who resided in the basement apartment, was arrested and charged with murder. Candace Fitzpatrick, 19, disappeared in March 2008 from Oshawa. Her DNA was discovered in Adam Strong's abode, and investigators later recovered her remains. He was dinged with that one, too. In March 2021, Strong, now 52, was convicted of first-degree murder in the death of Haish and manslaughter in the death of Fitzpatrick. The film set flunky was sentenced to life in prison, with no chance of parole for 25 years, after killing and dismembering the 2 women a decade apart. Now, the brick bungalow is for sale via Derek Baird Realty. And it can be all yours for a chintzy $500,000. Maybe the best deal in the GTA. However, according to the listing, it doesn't look like the intention will be to turn it into another Fleabag flophouse or a single-family home. Redevelopment likely. No, it's being pitched as part of a parcel of properties for redevelopment. That means a wrecking ball. Since 2018, the families of Rory Haish and Candace Fitzpatrick have been begging the city to tear the building down. Councillor Brian Nicholson agrees. Quote, "This building reminds us all of a horrific tragedy, and its existence continues to harm many in the community," Nicholson told the Toronto Sun in an email. Any steps taken to demolish the building and provide closure to those impacted and to the family would be of great benefit to Oshawa. Bullied, battered, and scorned. Sources have told The Sun that Strong's time in jail has not been easy. He's been bullied, battered, and scorned. a return engagement with society is unlikely, even with the most activist of judges and advocates from the caring professions in his corner. The public would not stand for it. And there remains the chilling question, as there always is in cases of this nature. Did Adam Strong kill more girls? His murders were a decade apart, unusual for ones of their ghoulish nature. But still standing in silent testimony is that house in downtown Oshawa, defiantly taunting a city and the survivors. 2 years after schoolgirl killers Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka were arrested, the wrecking ball slammed into their Port Dalhousie House of Horrors, obliterating it from our sight forever. That needs to happen at 219 McMillan Drive. Until it's gone, you're still going to figuratively hear the heartbreaking screams and cries for help that were never answered. There is a close-up picture of Rory Haish. She is very young, very pretty young lady. She's got like this strawberry blonde hair. She's wearing very nice makeup with her big brown eyes, and she's got like a black, kind of like a skull cap on. And she just looks very, very pretty in this picture. There's also a picture of Candace Fitzpatrick. She is also a redhead, darker red hair though, with brown eyes. She's very young and pretty, and it's just very, very close up. You don't even see the top of her head, so hard to describe her more than that. There are no photo credits given. That story was Dismemberment Killer Adam Strong's Oshawa House of Horrors for Sale by Brad Hunter. The next story is Lotto Max tickets going up in price this weekend as OLG revamps prize breakdown by Jane Stevenson. Big changes are coming to Lotto Max, with the first such draw happening April 14, including a maximum jackpot of $90 million and improved odds of winning any prize, except sadly for the jackpot. We like to keep the game fresh, and we hear from our customers that they love big jackpots and they want more prizes, said OLG spokesperson Tony Bittanti on the reasons behind some of the changes. Quote, "And over the years, Lotto Max has changed because when it launched in 2009, the maximum jackpot was $50 million. And now it's $80 million, and soon to be $90 million. And this one is another change again to keep the game interesting. People look to the States, and they see those big jackpot prizes for Powerball and Mega Millions. But there's also the Canadian sensibility like, yeah, but it doesn't have to be that high. Can I just win $1 million? And that's how Lotto Max was created. Ticket price increases to $6 starting Saturday. Starting Saturday, other changes will see the cost of a Lotto Max ticket rise from $5 to $6. But each ticket will now include 4 lines instead of 3, and players can choose their own 7 numbers from 1 to 52 rather than 1 to 50. Quote, "When you go and buy a Lotto Max today for the draw, you give $5 and you get 3 lines," said Bittanti. So you can choose the first line. You can say whatever numbers you want, and the other 2 are generated by the computer. Or you can have the computer generate all 3 of them. The new tickets start on April 11th, which is Saturday, with the first draw on April 14. So now you will be getting 4 lines of numbers for $6. So the price increase is because we're giving you more value. We're giving you more options, more prizes, and this is the first increase in price since the launch in 2009. Improved odds on winning any prize. The even bigger news is that it means improved overall odds of winning any prize, although slightly worse odds of winning the jackpot. It's going to be from 1 in 7 to 1 in 5.8 to win any prize, said Bittanti. Now, if you're looking at just the odds for the jackpot, That does increase slightly from 1 in 33,294,800 to 1 in 33,446,140 per play. The odds aren't as great. It's a result of the changes being made to the matrix, which is the 1 to 52 numbers you can choose. We call that the matrix. And also that we're adding the extra fourth line in there as well. There will also be multiple $100,000 prizes offered for every draw, in addition to the current Max Million prizes of $1 million, the numbers of which are decided based on sales. Quote, "At a $10 million jackpot, there will be 10 $100,000 prizes," said Bitonti. At $20 million, it will be 20 $100,000 prizes. If it gets to a $90 million jackpot, we will have 90 $100,000 prizes. There's no guarantee that anyone will win those prizes every draw if the numbers aren't drawn. That's all in addition to the Max Million prizes, which kick in at $50 million. That story was Lotto Max tickets going up in price this weekend as OLG revamps prize breakdown by Jane Stevenson. The next story is Potentially Dangerous Man Walks Out of Toronto Mental Health Facility Again by Spiro Papikoski. A potentially dangerous 47-year-old man has walked out of a Toronto mental health facility for at least the 8th time in the last 8 years. Toronto police said Tuesday that they are seeking the public's assistance to help locate Tesfaye Assefa. Police said the elopee was seen last Thursday at about 5:30 p.m. in the Queen Street West and Ossington Avenue area, which is the location of the Center for Addiction and Mental Health. Assefa is described as 5'5" with a medium build, black hair, brown eyes, and a mustache. He was last seen wearing a blue zip-up sweater with a white stripe on the sleeve, a blue and white Blue Jays hat, black pants, white and black patterned shoes, and prescription glasses. Not criminally responsible for sex assaults. He was found not criminally responsible in 2011 for 2 sexual assaults. Cops said Assefa is bound by a Form 49 warrant of committal, which is issued by the Ontario Review Board when a person is found not criminally responsible in court. The warrant commits the person to the custody of a provincial psychiatric hospital and subjects them to abide by certain conditions. Walked out of facility many times. Past reporting indicates Assefa first disappeared from the mental health facility in August 2018. He went missing again in May 2019 and walked out the door again in January 2020 before he was located 2 weeks later. Assefa went AWOL yet again in June 2020 and January 2023 before being returned to the psychiatric facility. In July 2025, police said Assefa allegedly took off from the mental health hospital and was last seen in the area of Danforth and Jones Avenues. That incident would have been at least the 7th time he went missing since being committed before his latest escape. Investigators released new photos of the man and warned the public that if he is located, do not approach him and call 911 immediately. Anyone with information is asked to contact police at 416-808-1400 or Crime Stoppers anonymously at 416-222-8477. There is what appears to be a booking picture of Tesfaye Assefa. It is just a picture of his head standing in front of just plain white wall. And he does not have a mustache like it was described previously. He has very large brown eyes, he's clean shaven, and he looks, for the most part, bald. Photo by handout from the Toronto Police. That story was Potentially Dangerous Man Walks Out of Toronto Mental Health Facility Again by Spiro Papakoski. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Toronto Sun on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The next story is NASA releases Earthsat shot after Artemis II makes lunar flyby by Brian Toey. NASA has released a photo of Earth dipping below the horizon of the Moon, almost 60 years after an Earthrise image was taken by a crew member of the Apollo 8 team in 1968. The Artemis II mission crew took the Earthsat shot from their Orion ship during the crew's record-breaking lunar flyby, a follow-up to the Earthrise photo taken by American astronaut Bill Anders in 1968 during the first mission to take humans around the Moon. Both NASA and the White House posted the image. Quote, "Humanity from the other side," the White House posted on X. First photo from the far side of the Moon, captured from Orion as Earth dips beyond the lunar horizon. Historic mission. The Artemis II team of Canadian Jeremy Hansen, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Reid Wiseman is on a historic mission to fly around the Moon before another program organizes a moon landing in 2028. They set a new record on Monday for traveling into deep space, going farther away from Earth than anyone has done before. Hansen is the first Canadian to fly to the Moon, and Canada is only the second country to send an astronaut that far from Earth. Hansen, a native of southwestern Ontario, said the moment should, quote, "challenge this generation and the next to make sure this record is not long-lived." The astronauts have reported unique features of the Moon's surface in unprecedented detail, and even witnessed a solar eclipse of the Moon passing in front of the Sun. The White House also posted a photo of the eclipse, calling it, quote, "a view few in human history have ever witnessed." The voyage home. The crew is now on the way back to Earth in what Mission Control calls a free return lunar trajectory to get the astronauts safely back as soon as possible. They're expected to splash down somewhere in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of San Diego, California, on Friday. Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield added some context about the Artemis II crew's return to Earth on X. Quote, "They are now falling 400,000 kilometers to Earth, picking up speed pretty much the whole way. There's a minuscule chance they'll hit orbital debris, but the real impact will be with Earth. They'll be the fastest humans ever as the atmosphere rudely slows them down from 40,000 kilometers an hour to parachute speed, counting on the heat shield for protection." There is a picture of the Moon eclipsing the Sun that was taken on April 6th. So it's a very unique looking picture. It's very simple. The background is all black space. You only see like two stars that are white dots. And then kind of off to the left of center is a big black ball, which has like a white kind of halo behind it. That is the Moon eclipsing the Sun. So the Sun's light is peeking out from behind the Moon. It's very cool. Photo by NASA. There is also that picture of the Earthrise shot taken where you see the Moon in the foreground and you could see some craters. It's like a grayish white color. And then far in the distance, you just see pretty much like the top half of Earth. So you see the blue and white kind of mixed look of the Earth, and then just black universe behind it. It's so interesting to see. Photo courtesy of NASA. That story was NASA releases Earthsat shot after Artemis II makes lunar flyby by Brian Toey. The next story is Lewis Hamilton and Kim Kardashian make their romance Instagram official by Ann Bacani. Looks like Kim Kardashian and Lewis Hamilton are no longer keeping fans guessing. They've officially gone public as a couple. The pair hard launched their relationship on Instagram on Monday, when Hamilton shared a reel of a high-speed drive through Tokyo. In the video, he drifts a red Ferrari through city streets before the camera reveals Kardashian sitting in the passenger seat. Reacting to the wild ride, she laughs and says, "That's insane," reported People. Hamilton captioned the clip, "Here we go again, Tokyo Drift Volume 3, all caps. Not just a casual fling, sources say. According to Cosmopolitan, multiple insiders said the two are going strong. One source told Us Weekly that they are, quote, going strong and really happy. Lewis is head over heels. He has waited over a decade for his dream girl and is crazy about her. The insider added that both are committed to making things work despite their busy schedules and long-distance relationship, and that starting as friends has made their bond even stronger, with some believing it could be endgame. Another source told People that Hamilton's easygoing personality and positive energy have won over Kardashian's inner circle, adding that her family likes him. Couple spending plenty of time together. On March 25th, a source confirmed to People that they were vacationing in Tokyo with Kardashian's children, Saint, Chicago, and Psalm, whom she shares with ex-husband Kanye West. Her sister, Khloe Kardashian, also joined the trip with her kids, True and Tatum. Rumors about Kardashian and Hamilton started in January, when they were spotted at the same New Year's Eve party in Aspen, Colorado, according to E! News. Speculation grew in February when they were seen taking a private flight together from the UK to Paris. They also appeared to soft-launch their relationship last month during a trip to Arizona, according to a previous article in the Toronto Sun. Both posted photos from Lake Powell, showing similar desert landscapes and dramatic skies, but didn't include each other in the shots. Still, it was clear they were in the same place. There is a picture of Lewis Hamilton of Great Britain. It was taken March 28 of this year in Japan, and it's just ahead of the qualifying for the F1 Grand Prix. He is wearing a red, white, and blue crewneck shirt that has like the Puma logo on it in two places, and that's about all I can see. He's got interesting like carvings in his hair. I can't quite tell what they are, but he's like shaved it in a way where you could see something in it. Maybe it's a bird. I'm not sure. He's got a very short beard and mustache, brown eyes, and then he has a tattoo on his neck. I can't read it. It might say God something. And he's also wearing a diamond earring that's the shape of a star. Photo by Peter Fox via Getty Images. There is also a picture of Kim Kardashian. It's a still picture from that video. And she's in a red car. It's kind of actually blurry. You can see that she's got her seatbelt on, thank goodness. And she's got a white t-shirt on that says something. I can't tell what the lettering is. And she looks to be laughing. And next to her, you can see that he's driving the car. You just see his teeth like smiling. That would be courtesy of Instagram, Lewis Hamilton's Instagram. That story was Lewis Hamilton and Kim Kardashian make their romance Instagram official by Ann Bacani. The next story is Maple Leafs hire Toronto-based firm in search for new hockey boss. Here are the candidates by Terry Koshin. The Maple Leafs reportedly have taken the next step in their search for a new hockey operations boss. Various reports on Tuesday indicated that the Leafs have hired Neil Glassberg and PBI Sports to aid in the hunt for Brad Treliving's Trevelling's replacement. Trevelling was fired last Monday, and in the news conference that followed on Tuesday, MLSE CEO and President Keith Pelley didn't provide much clarity on whether the new person in charge will have the title of President of Hockey Operations or a General Manager. We do know that the incoming hire will be data-centric, a factor that Pelley stressed several times last week. No matter the title, Pelley did say the hire would be, quote, the most important decision that he will make in his tenure as MLSE president. We wouldn't quibble with that. Glasberg is the founder, president, and CEO of Toronto-based PBI Sports, a representation agency for professional coaches and front office personnel. The company has more than 70 clients in the NHL, NFL, MLB, NBA, and European professional leagues. Who might get the job? It's not just the Leafs who are in need of a new GM. Again, title to be determined. The Nashville Predators are well into the interview process to fill their GM role, and the New Jersey Devils entered the chat on Monday when the club announced that it has parted ways with GM Tom Fitzgerald. If Glasberg needs some help finding the right candidates, and we're not suggesting he would, we present an updated list. Keep in mind, too, that it could change on a daily basis. Sonny Mehta. The 47-year-old Michigan native not only has the background to provide what Pelley seeks, he has the hardware to back it up. As the assistant general manager, head of analytics, with the Florida Panthers, Mehta helped the club win back-to-back Stanley Cups in the past 2 seasons. The freshness of those wins could be an appealing factor, and might help put Mehta further ahead of the other people on this list. Mehta reportedly is a client of Glasberg, so make of that what you will. Kevyn Adams. With each day that passes, the Sabres team that Adams built in Buffalo before he was fired in December impresses more and more, doesn't it? The Sabres will end the 2025-26 NHL regular season with a shot at not only winning the Atlantic Division title, but also the Eastern Conference crown. On the chance that the 51-year-old Adams is the new guy in Toronto, he would have to make it work a lot quicker with the Leafs than the time it took to build a winner in Buffalo. The Sabres are back in the playoffs for the first time since 2011. Chris Pronger. The 51-year-old Pronger not only is brash, he can back it up. He's a smart hockey mind and, as a player, knew how to win. Given his 2007 Stanley Cup with the Anaheim Ducks and Olympic gold medals with Canada in 2002 and 2010. The Hockey Hall of Famer has the kind of no-nonsense attitude that wouldn't be diminished in a market as crazy about hockey, specifically the Leafs, as Toronto is. He could handle it. Tom Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald is a prime example of how these lists can change quickly. There were rumblings of changes coming in New Jersey, but it wasn't confirmed until the Devils announced on Monday that the 57-year-old Fitzgerald, the team's GM since July 2020, when he took over in a full-time role. The former Leafs forward was in Pittsburgh's front office for 8 years before he was hired by the Devils in 2015. Darryl Metcalf. The Toronto native has been instrumental in building the Leafs analytics department and was promoted to assistant general manager, hockey research and development in 2022. Pelley certainly wouldn't need an outside firm to tell him that Metcalf, 39, is capable. Working against Metcalf, perhaps, he has been with the organization since 2014. A 12-year span during which the Leafs have won nothing of consequence. John Chayka. The 36-year-old Chayka was on the cutting edge of the analytics curve when he was hired as general manager of the Arizona Coyotes in 2016. Under his guidance, though, the Coyotes had a tough run in the Pacific Division, making the playoffs only in 2020. And Chayka was not there to witness it, as he suddenly resigned on the eve of the postseason. In January 2021, the NHL suspended Chayka for the rest of the year for conduct detrimental to the league and the game. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Toronto Sun on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Dean Lombardi. Now an advisor with the Philadelphia Flyers, the 68-year-old Lombardi has experience as an NHL executive to burn, winning the Cup as GM of the Los Angeles Kings in 2014 and 2012 after he had spent 7 years as GM of the San Jose Sharks. Lombardi was fired by the Kings in 2017. If Pelly decides to make multiple hires, the club might be better served with Lombardi as the overseer, with the GM working under him. Doug Armstrong. All of the initial smoke was around Armstrong, 61, when Treliving was fired last week. While the speculation involving Armstrong has died down, he is slated to remain in the St. Louis Blues' front office once Alexander Steen becomes the Blues' GM on July 1. We won't count out the longtime NHL executive quite yet. Brandon Pridham. The salary cap and CBA guru has the knowledge and expertise to be an NHL GM at some point. So why not here in Toronto? Pridham, 52, has been an assistant GM with the Leafs since 2018, after a 4-year stint as assistant to the GM. Darren York. The 40-year-old native of Milton, Ontario, would be coming home, in a sense, after working for Carolina. He's in his second season as associate GM with the Hurricanes, and had held numerous roles since joining the club in 2010 as a video scout, and Buffalo. Mike Gillis. The former player agent, if the Leafs decide to include him in retooling the club, might fit best as director of hockey operations and have a GM work under him. The 67-year-old Gillis was fired as president and GM of the Vancouver Canucks in 2014. The game and how it is managed has changed a lot in the ensuing 12 years. We can't see how this potential choice would make a lot of sense. Jason Spezza. Few players had an encyclopedic-like grip on the NHL like Spezza did before he retired following the 2021 through 22 season. It wasn't just because he was tight with Kyle Dubas that later hired Spezza to be the assistant GM in Pittsburgh. Spezza, 42, knows what he's doing. Spezza on a path to be an NHL GM at some point, and likely not too far in the future. There is a picture of Keith Pelly, the president and CEO of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. He is addressing, I don't know who. He's at some kind of a podium, and there's a microphone up, and he's wearing a blue suit and blue tie and these blue-rimmed glasses. He's got both of his hands up in the air, emphasizing whatever he's talking about, and he's got short, very conservative blonde hair. Photo courtesy of Ernest Dorosuk via the Toronto Sun. That story was Maple Leafs hired Toronto-based firm in search for new hockey boss. Here are the candidates. By Terry Koshin. Oh hey, we have a new article that came out since I started this recording about the Iran war. So, this story is called Iran War Updates. Donald Trump agrees to 2-week ceasefire with Iran. By Eddie Chow. Less than 2 hours before his deadline Tuesday night, U.S. President Donald Trump said he has agreed Pakistan's proposal, quote, to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks if Tehran agrees to allow traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. Earlier Tuesday, the U.S. president had warned, quote, a whole civilization will die tonight. unless Iran agreed to a deal before his deadline to reopen the crucial shipping waterway by Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. He said he made the decision to hold off on carrying out his latest threat of blowing up civilian infrastructure after discussing with Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Pakistan's Army Chief General Asim Munir. Quote, "This will be a double-sided ceasefire," all in caps, Trump wrote on Truth Social Tuesday evening. Quote, "The reason for doing so is that we have already met and exceeded all military objectives, and are very far along with a definitive agreement concerning long-term peace with Iran and peace in the Middle East." He also said the U.S. has received a 10-point proposal from Iran and, quote, "believe it a workable basis on which to negotiate." He added, "Almost all of the various points of past contention have been agreed to between the United States and Iran, but a 2-week period will allow the agreement to be finalized and consummated." Here's the latest on the Iran war on Tuesday. Iran says it has accepted ceasefire proposal. Iran's Supreme National Security Council said it has accepted a 2-week ceasefire in the war and that it would negotiate with the United States in Islamabad beginning Friday. Quote, "It is emphasized that this does not signify the termination of the war," the Council's statement said. Shortly after Trump's announcement of a ceasefire, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said in a post on X that passage through the Strait of Hormuz would be allowed for the next 2 weeks under Iranian military management. It wasn't immediately clear whether that meant Iran would loosen its chokehold on the waterway crucial to global energy supplies. Pakistan PM urged Trump to extend deadline. With the clock ticking, Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif had urged Trump to extend Tuesday night's deadline by 2 weeks to, quote, "allow diplomacy to run its course." In a post on X Tuesday afternoon, Sharif said diplomatic efforts for the peaceful settlement of the ongoing war in the Middle East were progressing. Quote, "To allow diplomacy to run its course, I earnestly request President Trump to extend the deadline for 2 weeks," he said. Sharif also asked Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz for 2 weeks as a goodwill gesture. About 3 hours after Sharif's appeal on social media, Trump announced he had accepted Pakistan's ceasefire proposal. Young people urged to form human chains around power plants. Iranian officials on Tuesday urged young people to form human chains to protect power plants after U.S. President Donald Trump warned that, quote, "a whole civilization will die tonight" if Tehran does not meet its latest deadline to agree to a deal that includes reopening the Strait of Hormuz. In a video message, Iranian official Alireza Rahimi called on all young people, athletes, artists, students, and university students and their professors to form human chains around power plants. In the past, Iranians have formed human chains around nuclear sites at times of heightened tensions with the West. Some images of people surrounding power plants were posted by local Iranian media on Tuesday, although it's unclear how widespread the practice was, or if the photos were simply brief shows of government-encouraged defiance. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian posted on social media that 14 million Iranians had answered campaigns urging people to volunteer to fight, and said he would join them, while a Revolutionary Guard general urged parents to send their children to man checkpoints. Netanyahu confirms Israeli warplanes struck bridges, railways, in Iran. In a statement released by his office, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu confirmed that Israeli warplanes had struck bridges and railways in Iran, claiming the country's Revolutionary Guard was using them to transport materials to make weapons. Netanyahu said he approved the strikes with Defense Minister Israel Katz, stating they weren't meant to target Iranian civilians but the government. Quote, "This is no longer the same Iran, nor is it the same Israel. We are changing the balance of power from one end to the other," Netanyahu said. U.S. strikes Karg Island again. The U.S. has struck the Iranian oil hub of Karg Island again on Tuesday, hitting military targets, an official said. Earlier in the war, the U.S. had struck several targets on the island, including air defenses, a radar site, an airport, and a hovercraft base. On Tuesday morning, semi-official Mehr News Agency reported several explosions on Karg Island, without elaborating. World leaders respond to Trump threat. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres joined a chorus of international figures speaking out against Trump's latest threat. Guterres wrote in a post on X Tuesday afternoon, quote, "There is no military objective that justifies the wholesale destruction of a society's infrastructure or the deliberate infliction of suffering on civilian populations." His statement followed comments from Pope Leo XIV, who continued to urge for peace. Speaking to reporters as he left his house in Castel Gandolfo Tuesday, the Pope said the U.S. President's threat against all people in Iran is truly unacceptable, adding that any attacks on civilian infrastructure violate international law. Prime Minister Mark Carney also commented on Trump's latest threat during a news conference in Brampton, Ontario, on Tuesday, stating that all parties in the Iran war need to respect international law. That means not targeting, certainly civilians, or civilian infrastructure. And we urge all parties in this war to follow those responsibilities, Carney said, without naming Trump or the United States specifically. That's all the time we have for this story, which was Iran War Updates. Donald Trump agrees to 2-week ceasefire with Iran, by Eddie Chow. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from the April 7 issue of the Toronto Sun. Your reader has been Melanie Guralnick. Thank you for listening.